Hello everyone, welcome back to Ops on Cloud. Today we are diving a little deeper into GitHub Action expressions and how they can make our workflows more dynamic. Okay, whether you're automating deployments, tests, or any CI/CD task, right? Understanding expressions can really level up our automation game. So let's try to understand in deeper now. Okay, so in GitHub Actions, so basically expressions will allow us to use dynamic values in our workflows. This means we can reference the data from multiple sources. So this can be our repository details or environment variables, or even when we have configured the custom variables like the one which we did in our previous sessions. Okay, so basically what happens is the syntax looks something like this. So for especially for the GitHub specific context, right? So you have github.event name, and now based on this, right, you want to go in deeper or do something like that, right? So those things can be handled here actually. All right, here when I say, yeah. So one more thing, in expressions, right? It's not just about the retrieving the static values or something like that. We have three different types of values. We have literal values, context values, and function and operators. So what is literal values? It is like strings, numbers, booleans, or even like null. All these things comes under literal value. So let's assume you have something, you want to trigger a specific workflow or a step based on a condition where you want to check if the environment is production or something like that. If you want to pass such kind of strings, you can pass it. And context, in the sense, as we have already discussed, we have GitHub context, we have environment variables, and we have custom variables. So for example, let's assume you have GitHub context. We want to capture the event name, and the event name is pull request, right? So based on that pull request, you want to trigger a step or a workflow. Okay, so on that condition, okay, so so those things can be done as well with the help of context variables. And then you have function or operators. What is function and operators? See, in programming, we have logical operators, all these things are there, right? For example, you have and, or, not, and we also have comparison operators like lesser than, greater than, lesser than or equal to, greater than or equal to, all these things are available. Okay, so for example, if you come here, just come here and you can see it here. Okay, so see, here we are trying to capture the event name, and if the event name is pushed, then we will run a specific condition. Okay, similarly here we are trying to check if the event name is push, or if the event name is equal to pull request, then we will trigger a specific condition. Okay, like that, based on your use case, right? You can add like much more operators based on your use case. And here if you see, I'm trying to capture from the environment variables. If the deployment env is production, then I will do a specific set of activities. That is what I meant here. Okay, here basically what happens is, the flexibility of expressions means we can do a lot of things in our workflows. So we can check the environment variables, as I already mentioned. We can inspect our repository, organize the data, and even make some certain decisions based on specific variables or conditions. Okay, so this is what is about expressions in GitHub Actions in detail. All right, so let's try to go ahead and explain. Explore practically what are the different types of expressions. Let's try to do some kind of hands-on, and also let's try to quickly discuss about the best practices. See, just because you have the expressions and you can write a very lengthy workflows, don't do that. Okay, just try to keep it as much simple as possible. Only if it is necessary, then use it. Okay, and make sure that you keep your workflows as modular as possible. Because of this, the maintainability and testing of your GitHub Action workflows becomes much more easier for us. Okay, just because you have these things, don't try to add multiple condition. If it is testing, if it is production, if it is staging, like this, don't try to pile up everything in one single file. Okay, so this is just a tip or best practices, whatever you can think, you can think. All right, so let's quickly dig in and start with a hands-on session. Yeah, so now what we'll do is, let's try to give the name of our workflow. The name is uh, using expressions. All right. So after this and this one, I'll go and create. It should trigger on. I need workflow dispatch, and then I need inputs as well. Okay, inputs, and for that inputs, what I'll do is I'll try to keep one with debug. Okay, one input with debug. If debug is a variable, and under debug type, let me keep it as boolean. Okay, and then later what we need something for by default. By default, it is always false. Okay, and then we need to create jobs. Okay, so for jobs, see, the moment I create jobs, all the syntax issues is gone. Yeah, and now echo, and then it should runs on Ubuntu latest. Okay, and then what else we need? Yes, Ubuntu latest. Let me keep for push event as well. Then we need to execute steps, right? So under steps, what I will do is we need to provide the step name, and this should be, so basically I will try to take the debug value. Okay, should be debug value, and then I need to I'll just add some condition kind of thing. Okay, I'll try to add print, and then we need a if condition. Okay, so why we need if condition? So based on this if condition itself, basically this specific steps will trigger now. So what I will do is if inputs dot debug. Okay, if it is true, this will execute. If it is false, this specific step will not execute. All right, under steps. So if input dot debug, then we need to run. Okay, under run I will use an inline character. Sorry, let me close this one. I will use an inline character, and then what else we need for run? Echo. Uh, we need to identify who triggered this. So for this, sorry, triggered by second triggered by which user. Um, we need dollar symbol here. See, the moment we provide this syntax, under this basically we can provide variables. So it will be GitHub context GitHub dot event name. Okay, or name. This should be the triggered event. Okay, we will capture the triggered event here, and then what shall we capture? Let us capture the running OS. Echo. Okay, runner OS, and this should be dollar to flower brackets. So it should be runner.os. Runner.os. Okay, I captured this one as well. Okay, for now here these two things are enough, and then later what we will do is we will add one more step, which is hyphen name. Okay, under this, let me provide the name of this one. Um, this one we will trigger. This one, let us, I mean, like this specific step is there, right? Let's add a condition where we will try to verify if if the workflow is triggered from the main branch. If it is triggered from main branch, only then we will basically execute this, or else we will not execute this. Okay, so debug. Okay, and then what else we need? Print when triggered by main. Okay, let's fix the syntax. Yeah, okay. And this one print anytime. Okay. So then later, once we add this, we need to add a if condition, right? For that, if in what should we check? If it is inputs dot debug. First step is this should be true, and then the logical operator, and then what we are supposed to do is we will have to identify the branch name. GitHub dot what is ref. Okay, if that is equal to the branch name is main, right? Main directly instead of we cannot give like this. So refs slash head, okay, slash main. And then what we are supposed to do is now we are supposed to run something. So while running, what we'll do, echo triggered by main. Okay, and then once I do all these things right, if you, yeah, this should be enough for our testing purpose. What we'll do is let's save this, git status, git add dot, git commit -m expressions, git push. Okay, so let's go to our actions, expressions, come here, until, let's wait for a few seconds. Yes, do you see here, both are not executed. The reason behind that is by default it is false. Okay, so now what we are supposed to do is let's try to go and verify it. Okay, how do we test it further? To go to GitHub Actions. Now we are in our workflow section. So here what we are supposed to do is let's make it debug, and now let's click on run workflow. So now the moment you click on run workflow, you can come here using expressions and go to this specific uh, pipeline. Let's try to see. Perfect. Okay, so we are able to capture that it is triggered by workflow dispatch, and this is being triggered, the runner OS is Linux, and then what we'll do is we'll come here triggered by main. This is also getting, I mean, like variable, it's getting triggered. The reason behind that is the source branch was main branch. Okay, so now let's test one more scenario. What is that? We need to test it from a different branch. Okay, the same thing, we will have to test it from a different branch and see whether it works. Okay, because we have added a condition for main branch, right? So main, let me create a new branch. New branch. So for that, test hyphen expressions, create new. Perfect. Okay, a new branch is created. Let's go to actions. Ideally it should have triggered test expression. It has triggered something. Let's come here. Okay, so now if you see, both are not triggered. The reason behind that is by default it is still false. Okay, so now we need to make it true and see if the second step will get executed or not. Okay, so for that, let me go to actions, user expressions, and then run workflow, source branch. Let's make it like test expression. This one, let's make it true, run workflow. Perfect. And now we will go to our pipeline, which is in queue. go to echo and see. Yes. So now do you see this one is triggered and this one is not triggered. Okay, because the conditions are designed like that. So the second step should trigger only if we are triggering from main. The first one will trigger uh, based on only on one condition if the input the debug whatever is there, right? So if basically if that comes as a true only when that is true, so basically it will trigger those that specific step. Okay, so now let's try to go and explore how we can create this tertiary operators in GitHub Actions. Okay, so if you have knowledge on any programming languages like Java or Python, so then you would have come across like tertiary operator. Tertiary operators means if the first expression is true, then the immediate step will be displayed, or else or immediate condition will be executed, or else the or condition or the next upcoming condition will be executed. That's what tertiary operator usually looks like. Okay, so how we can implement here, run hyphen name. Okay, run name. So here what I will do is using expression using. Okay, so now the criteria for me is if the debug is true, right? I need to print on. Okay, the run name should be on. It should be appended with on. If the debug is false, then it should be off. Okay, so to do that specific condition, what I'll do is debug hyphen. So what is the syntax? Dollar dun dun, and now it is inputs. Okay, dot. This one in the previous lecture we have actually done this, if you remember, or if you guys have practiced. And then see if it is true, I want it to print on. Okay, just try to remember the syntax. Okay, or else I need to print off. Okay, so now, so based on this condition it works. If this condition is true, okay, it prints, for example, if input.debug, if this is true, then immediately it will print on. Okay, or else it will be off. It's like an expression kind of thing. Okay, so now, okay, let me save this and push this git dot git commit m. Okay, 02 expressions git push. Okay, perfect, done. Let's go to our actions. Do you see it is off? Because by default when we trigger it's always off. That is the reason. Okay, so now what we will do is let's try to go and test the true condition as well. For that, come to run workflows main. Let's make the debug as true and let's click on run workflows. Come to action. Yeah, do you see this is perfectly working? Okay, so this is how you use uh, such kind of expressions. Okay, tertiary operators, all these things and all are there, right? Such kind of expressions you can use it in GitHub Actions. All right, so let's go quickly to the next concept and let's try to do a hands-on on that as well.